Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Your friendly neighborhood Coach Pruitt here with you once again with a daily intro slash class overview video. This is for even classes. This is for Thursday, November the 5th. So to all of my even students, if you are watching this video, then I am no longer with you because I'm gone on a trip. Sorry, now I thought that would be funnier in my head when I planned that, and now I feel like SpongeBob in the episode where he ripped his pants and then faked his drowning and everybody got mad at him. Anyway, all right, so yeah, if you guys are watching this video, that means it's Thursday, you're in class, and I'm not with you. It's the first time that I've been absent from school in like 2.5 years, but I planned this trip, and I'm going to be on it for a little bit over a week, actually, so I won't see you guys for probably like 9 days or something. So Mr. Burroughs is going to teach you guys today what you need to know, but I also, because I'm just me and I'm a type A personality, I wanted to make sure that I go over the content with you guys too. So you'll have Mr. Burroughs teach it to you in class, but then you also have me giving you the content as well. So you've got two versions of the same sort of information. So hopefully that means that it'll stick in your brain, because again, we haven't seen you guys in about a week due to the whole cancellation of school with weather and the schedule and all the things that I already mentioned. So we want to make sure you guys know the most important stuff, finish up the content for this unit before we move into one last little project that we're going to work on, and then next week it'll be prep for your test, play a review game, finish one more task work activity, and then test and task work due. So that brings me to my next point, and there are a couple of things that I want to make sure that I cover with and talk to you guys about in terms of just our classes. So first and foremost, important dates. Okay, so please remember, guys, and you can see it on the screen. Your test is scheduled for November the 12th. Even classes will test on 11/12. You guys will log into your Zoom. Mr. Burroughs will give you the link to the test. You guys will go and take the test. He'll have some other protocols that he needs you to take care of that day as well, but then that'll lead you through. Once you finish the test, you have whatever time is left of that class period, as well as any time outside of class that day and into Friday, because Friday, November the 13th, that's next week, next Thursday and Friday, you'll have your test, and then Friday your task work is due. So you guys will have an entire class period where you can log into Zoom. Mr. Burroughs can help you answer any questions. He can send you any video links that you need that I have made for you or we've made for you to provide information. It's all available to you. But your task work is due on November the 13th by 5 p.m. So it's not our typical, extension date until Sunday. It's due on Friday, November the 13th at 5 p.m. So please make sure that you email it to me and Mr. Burroughs or Mr. Burroughs by 5 o'clock on Friday, November the 13th. Okay. You are going to start on a project today. You'll also do nothing but work on the project tomorrow. So that would be the 5th and the 6th. So it's the Bill of Rights memes project. I'll talk more about it in just a second. The next thing that I want to make sure and talk about is your actual task work, because we mentioned it a couple of times, and because you guys have a strange schedule, I want to point out something important. So looking at, this is the task work, right? This is our Unit 2 module. We've been working in this for 5 weeks now. We have done almost everything in here already. But what I want to make sure and tell you guys is this very last thing in the early government section, the concepts of the Constitution Organizer. You do not have to do this. Let me say that again. You do not do this activity. For you guys, for you even classes, this is what we would have been working on for a couple of days, but because of the cancellation of school, the schedule changes, all the things, we're not going to have time to do it. We're not going to make you do it. So you do not, I'm putting an X over it with my mouse, do not do this activity. Okay? In terms of your other task work, you should be almost done. The Revolutionary War propaganda activity is the war poster that you made, the recruitment poster that you submitted to me. If for some reason you haven't done it yet, you're almost 2 weeks late, first of all, so you're losing a ton of points. And second of all, it's its own independent grade, so it's currently sitting as a 0 in the grade book. Causes of the American Revolution Organizer we did, that was the boxes where we talked about the French and Indian War, all of the events that led up to the American Revolution and the Declaration of Independence. Common Sense Summary was the summary we did about Thomas Paine and his ideas about independence. That should be done. Declaration of Independence Graphic Organizer, we did that the day we talked about the Declaration of Independence, and you guys watched the video on them. We took notes on the Federalist and Anti-Federalist. It was short, it was simple, it was sweet. That is this activity. We did the bubble diagram with the problems of the Articles of Confederation when we talked about the problems of the Articles of Confederation. So the only things you should have left to do is whatever key terms that you have left, which hopefully we've given you plenty of time and reminders. They're hopefully done. Your colonial soldier letter. So this is basically where you pretend that you are a soldier in the Continental Army and you're writing to someone about the conditions that you're facing. Guys, you can write about a battle. You can write about Valley Forge. You can write about just generalized stuff. Doesn't matter to me. I know that it's a discussion post and it looks like a discussion post, but if you want to just type this up on a Microsoft Word document and just include it in your task work, that is also absolutely fine. What you're going to do on Monday is this activity. So this is for Monday, so don't worry about it for now. And then you're going to start, like I said, at the end of class today, working on the Bill of Rights memes. So I'll explain kind of what this is at the end of my little video here. There's a separate video I've already made about what to do and how to do this, so you'll be good to go. Okay? So that leads us into what we need to talk about today, which is content stuff, notes-wise, finishing up this unit. So I'm going to go to your Unit 2 Part 2 notes and pull those up on my screen now so you guys can see them, and I'll just kind of talk with you guys and talk your way through. Okay? So remember the last couple times that we've been together, we talked about the Articles of Confederation, right? We won the American Revolutionary War. Hooray, free and independent country. And then we saw that under the government with the Articles of Confederation, there were a lot of problems. We did the organizer, right, where we talked about all the different things. So you have, America is in debt and they can't pay their debts. There's 14 different types of currency in the United States. Britain and France are both on the continent threatening to take over. There's no Supreme Court or Court of Appeals. There's no president. The only way that the Articles can be amended is if all 13 states agree to them. The federal government cannot collect taxes. All of those problems lead to eventually Shays' Rebellion, right? So Shays' Rebellion is the tipping point, and it's the event that proves that the Articles of Confederation are too weak. Something has to be done. A change needs to be made. We talked about how the Founding Fathers and the states all sent representatives to a conference, and at that conference you had two groups emerge, which would be the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist, right? So remember we talked about these groups specifically. The Federalists wanted a brand new government, brand new constitution, start from scratch, throw away the Articles and start over, stronger, more power to the federal government. The Anti-Federalists said, we want to keep things basically the same under the Articles. We want to just kind of review them and make some revisions here and there, update it a little bit, but we want to keep the Articles. We don't want strong national government because the government will abuse its power. We then said that eventually the Federalists will win out in this argument, but what you need to remember is the Anti-Federalists agreed to a new type of government and the new Constitution because of the Bill of Rights. They were promised this Bill of Rights that protected individual people's freedoms. So that now leads us into our next discussion, which is ironing out some of the issues with the actual government itself. And the very first thing that came up is going to be the issue of representation. So representation in the federal government is going to be the next question we have to address when we're making our new government. Remember that under the Articles, there had only been one vote per state, which means that on any issue, every state got one representative, they got one vote, and that was it. You had 13 total votes. So we're trying now to decide, are we going to keep that the same? How do we let the states be represented? And so this is going to be super, super important. We have two plans that will emerge, the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan, because they deal with representation. So make sure you remember that these two plans, they're dealing with representation. They don't deal with taxation. They don't deal with slavery. The Virginia plan, the New Jersey plan deal with representation in the federal government. So this is the specific information for both of those plans. You will need to know both of these plans for, say, the purposes of a test, like next week. So if you're a person that needs to write stuff down, you can pause this video and take your notes and then listen to me talk. So the Virginia plan is also called the Big State Plan. It was called the Big State Plan not because of the size of the state in terms of land area, but in terms of population. So Virginia and some of the delegates from Virginia are going to argue and say the states that have more people who live in them should get more votes in the federal government. It's only fair. We have more people. We have more issues. We should have more than one vote. That was called the Big State Plan. Elbow, elbow, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It said the representation should be based on population. The more people who live in your state, the more votes that your state gets. And your biggest states at this point, population-wise, would be Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. Those would have been your big three. The opposite or counter plan is called the New Jersey plan. That was called the small state plan. And it was because the smaller states like New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, they basically said, look, if the big states get more representatives, they're going to bully us around. They're going to be able to override anything that we try and do. They're going to be able to push us around. That's not fair. So the New Jersey plan, the small state plan, said that representation should be based on equality. Every state should get the same number of representatives, and let's just keep it at 1 to make it simple. Now, typically, guys, anytime you have any crazy arguments, one side is not going to give up everything, so the other side gets everything. You have to compromise. You have to meet in the middle. So that leads us to the great compromise. Elbow, elbow, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Sometimes you will see it called the Connecticut Compromise because the guy who created it, Roger Sherman, elbow, elbow, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, was from Connecticut. So, guys, if you see it called the Connecticut Compromise, just know it's the same thing as the Great Compromise. And this wasn't anything groundbreaking. Roger Sherman basically just said, hey, why don't we put both these plans together? Which is what they did. Make sure that you know number 22 right here. This is all the important information about the Great Compromise. So all that the Great Compromise does is it combines the New Jersey plan and the Virginia plan. So we have a two-house or bicameral legislature, one that is based on population, that would be the House of Representatives, one that is based on equality, that's the Senate, right? So remember, every state gets 2 senators no matter what. That's equality. That's the small state or New Jersey plan. Every state then gets representatives in the House of Representatives based on how many people live in their state. Rhode Island is the smallest. It only has 1 representative in the House. California has 53. So the Virginia plan or the big state plan is the House of Representatives. You might also want to remember, guys, that the Founding Fathers used the idea of Baron de Montesquieu and his idea of separation of powers. So remember, Montesquieu is an Enlightenment thinker that said if you have a government and you split it up into branches and you give each branch a specific job or role, you're separating out the powers, and that also leads to checks and balances. One branch can't become too powerful because the other branches can check its power. So that's why we instituted a 3-branch government, okay? And remember that each branch has a specific job. The legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch executes, carries out, enforces the laws. The judicial branch interprets the laws. Okay, I know I'm going kind of quick, but you guys can always pause this. You can rewind it. You can listen to it again and again. Then the last issue we need to talk about with this new government was the Constitution's issue on slavery. So remember, we've said the Declaration of Independence didn't mention slavery at all. The Articles of Confederation didn't mention slavery at all. And unfortunately, what we're going to see is the same attitude taken by the Founding Fathers, procrastination, right? Let's deal with this issue later. It's too controversial. We'll never get anything passed or done. We can't compromise on it because both sides are unwilling to compromise. We just got to just deal with it later. So they push it on down the road. And unfortunately, we're going to see that eventually leads us to a civil war. So for now, what we see, the slave states want to count slaves as part of their population. And the non-slave states say that's bullcrap because you don't treat those people as actual people, you treat them as equipment. You can't count them as part of your population. We're going to count them for property taxes and tax you for them. So both sides are arguing and arguing and arguing. And finally, they reach a compromise. And guys, this is so embarrassing to say, but they basically decide, okay, here's what we'll do. Each state can count 3 out of every 5 slaves as a portion of their population for representation. So if Virginia has 5,000 slaves, they can count 3,000 of them towards their population for representation in the House. The other part of it is that we can now tax 3 out of every 5 slaves as part of property tax, so the federal government can collect more money from the states. Unfortunately, guys, the 3/5 compromise is still technically in the Constitution. Obviously, it's undone because the 13th Amendment got rid of slavery, but it is still written in our actual Constitution. So again, the 3/5 compromise just says 3 out of every 5 slaves can be counted towards population for representation in the House of Representatives. I know that was super quick, but the most I can record is 15 minutes. So hopefully this kind of sums up everything. Guys, if you need to go back, rewatch this video, listen to it again, you have to know this content for your test next week. Mr. Burroughs will make sure you know it, but this is just a secondary option for you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck on your test next week. Please, please study.